Welcome to the G7 Tally, the 5-star partner of Tally Solutions.
Welcome to Tally Help videos. In this video, you will understand how to reconcile your purchase transactions in GSTR 2A reconciliation of Tally Prime. Tally Prime Release 3.0 brings in the facility using which you can import the transactions of your suppliers, download it from the portal and reconcile in Tally Prime. And the imported data becomes the part of your company. Tally Prime also ensures that if there are mismatches or transactions that are missing in books or portal, then you are aware and can take actions to reconcile as needed. Further, you can choose to ignore some types of mismatches such as presence of prefix or suffix, special characters, and others. What's more, the report also recommends the transactions in your books that match the transactions of your suppliers with some difference as potential matches. Therefore, you can mark such transactions as reconciled. And if you feel that the transactions needs to be imported again as there are a lot of exceptions, then you can easily reset extend data in Tally Prime and reimport the transactions of your suppliers. First, let's open the GSTR 2A reconciliation report. Press Alt+G. Type or select GSTR 2A reconciliation and press Enter. Press F2 and change the period if needed. And if you are using multiple GST registration feature in Tally Prime Release 3.0, then press F3 to select the GST registration for which you want to reconcile the transactions. By default, the report shows the reconciliation statistics. If you want to view the sections of the vouchers, then press Ctrl+H. Voucher statistics. And press Enter. Let's get back to reconciliation statistics view. You can see the count of reconciled and the unreconciled transactions. These are the transactions available only in books, and the transactions of your suppliers required for reconciliation are yet to be imported. The report gets updated with relevant section based on the transactions you import. You can also press F12 and configure the report as needed. If you want to view vouchers with pending actions in other periods, then you can set the option as Yes. And if you want to view vouchers with pending actions for other returns, then you can set the option as Yes. You can also set the default period for which the report will open each time. This ensures that if the selected amount of a transaction in your books is different from the transactions of suppliers imported by you, then you can easily identify those transactions. Press Ctrl+A to save the configurations. Now, let's import the transactions of suppliers. To import the transactions of the suppliers, press Alt+O. GST returns and select the GST registration for which you want to import transactions. Under return type, select GSTR2A. Specify the folder path where the JSON file with the transactions of suppliers is located. Select the file and press Y to accept. The transactions get imported and you can view an import summary. Press any key to get back to the GSTR2A reconciliation report. Now, let's see how to identify exceptions in unreconciled transactions and resolve. You can see some transactions get reconciled while the other transactions remain unreconciled. And you can easily distinguish between your book data and portal data. The portal data is represented in blue color. This will help you compare the values. Now, press Ctrl+B to view this data as per your requirement. Show report details based on enables you to view transactions based on the nature of their reconciliation status, such as unreconciled, mismatched, available only on books or portal, and so on. Let's view the report for all transactions. Method of showing values from the portal enables you to view the comparative data or only difference value as needed. The default method is comparison of books and portal values. Let's view difference in books and portal values. Press Ctrl+A to save. As you can see, the reconciled transactions have 0 as the difference value, while the unreconciled transactions show difference compared to the respective portal value. Let's drill down to the B2B invoices section that displays supplier GSTIN or UIN summary. You can see the GST status of vouchers. Press F5 to view the report voucher-wise if needed. You can see that the transactions of some suppliers are reconciled. Let's drill down to the vouchers of the party whose transactions are not reconciled. You can see that the transactions under mismatched have some difference in invoice amount. Press spacebar to select the transaction. Press Alt+S to set GST status, select Reconciled and press Enter. The transaction is marked as reconciled. It immediately starts appearing under Reconciled manually in its respective section. Alternatively, you can drill down to such vouchers. Press Ctrl+I, type or select GST status and press Enter. Here, you can update the GST status by typing reconciled and selecting it. Press Ctrl+A to save and then reaccept the voucher. The transaction gets reconciled. It is important to note that you can set GST status of any transaction irrespective of the way you have configured the report. Press spacebar to select the required transaction, press Alt+S to set GST status. Select the status as per your requirement and press Enter. The transaction status gets changed. There can also be transactions with mismatches like RCM applicability, tax amount, and others. If the reason for mismatch is not identifiable, enable all the options under F12. You will see the parameters that are matching and not. The transaction in the books is RCM, but not in the portal. Drill down to the transaction and set RCM applicability to no. Save the transaction. The voucher is reconciled. Now, you can see that a transaction is under mismatch in return period. Press F12 and enable the Show Effective Date for Return option. Now, you can see that the return effective date of both the transactions are different. It might have happened that you created the purchase voucher in a specific month, but the seller had created and uploaded the sales invoice in the previous month. To reconcile the transaction, you need to change the return effective date to match with your supplier. Press spacebar to select the transaction and press Alt+L. Against GSTR2A and GSTR3B, enter the return effective date as that in the supplier's invoice and press Enter. The voucher gets reconciled. You can also drill down to a voucher. Press Ctrl+I, type or select GST return effective date and press Enter. Here, you can update the return effective date and press Ctrl+A to save and then reaccept the voucher. The transaction gets reconciled. Now, there is an invoice available on the portal, but there is no corresponding purchase voucher in your data. In such a case, you need to find the voucher with the wrong document number or supplier's invoice number which matches the invoice available on the portal. If there is no such voucher in your company, then you will need to create one to reconcile this. To know the details of this invoice, press Alt+R for GST portal view. You now have the details of the invoice, which you can use to create the corresponding purchase voucher. You can see that all the vouchers are reconciled for the month of April. Now that you know how to resolve transactions to reconcile, let's see how you can handle the exceptions related to document number. There are a few transactions that are only on the portal. This may be because the party uses prefix, such as company name or zeros, in their invoice number to maintain consistency. However, you do not follow the practice of entering the invoice number with prefix. Further, the user may have added a special character in invoice number which is not present in your document. Due to this mismatch in the supplier's invoice number in your voucher and their invoice, the transactions remain unreconciled. For such parties, you can choose to ignore prefix or special character in invoice number as needed. You can configure your company. Press F11. Enable Goods and Services Tax and select the GST registration if you have multiple GST registrations. Set these two options as yes and press Ctrl+A to save. Ignore 0 if prefixed in supplier document number ensures that if there is some party uses zeros as prefix to maintain the number of digit in their voucher number, then the zeros will get ignored. Ignore special characters if used in supplier document number ensures that if some party uses / or some other special characters in their voucher number, then those special characters will get ignored. This setting ensures that if there are some transactions that are appearing under available only in books and available only on portal due to such exceptions, then those transactions get reconciled. Get back to the report and you can see that the transactions with prefix and special character both have got reconciled. Similarly, some party may add both prefix and suffix to their voucher numbers. You have the option to ignore both prefix and suffix in party's invoice number. You can set this in the ledger master of the respective party. Press F12 and set Ignore Prefixes and Suffixes in doc number for reconciliation to yes and press Ctrl+A to save. You can now see the option on the ledger alteration screen. Set it to yes. Enter the applicable from date and the prefix as applicable. Press Ctrl+A to save. Get back to the GSTR2A reconciliation report. Here you can see that the voucher with mismatch in voucher number due to prefix and suffix is reconciled with book entry. If you delete a transaction, exclude it from returns, or if a transaction is in uncertain bucket, the same are matched with corresponding portal vouchers after import. Here you can see how deleted, excluded, and uncertain transactions are matched with corresponding vouchers from portal. You can take necessary action to reconcile these. Now, let us see how to find potential matches to unreconciled transactions. It may happen that, despite following all the steps to reconcile transactions and prefixes, a few transactions are still under mismatch or available only in books and available only on portal. If you want to accept the transactions with mismatch of 1 or 2 rupees compared to the transactions of the suppliers at the time of import, then you can enable match transactions by ignoring difference in books and portal values under F12 configurations. Now, when you import the JSON file, the transactions with 1 or 2 rupee differences are automatically matched. You can manually reconcile the transactions. You can select more than one transaction to reconcile at once. You can still view the report with all the sections and easily identify the transactions under available only in books and available only on portal. In such cases, you do not need worry as Tally Prime has got your back. You can easily identify potentially matching transactions. Now, let's see how to find the potential matches of these transactions. Press F5 to view voucher-wise. Press F12 and set Show Potential Matches between Books and Portal, and press Ctrl+A to save the setting. Case 1. Potential matches, excluding section. Under Potential Matches, excluding section, you can see the transactions in which all the values are matching, but their sections in GST return are different. For example, there may be an increase in the amount of purchase, and the party must have provided you with a voucher for sales escalation. However, you must have created a purchase voucher for the increase in the purchase amount. In such a case, both vouchers will be in different sections of the return. So, your transaction appears as purchases, and the supplier's transaction appears in the CDNR section. In such a case, drill down to your transaction. Press F10 and select Credit Note and press Enter. Set Provide GST Details to Yes. In the Additional Details, Local Purchase, Taxable screen, enter the details exactly as per the supplier's debit or credit note. Press Ctrl+A to save the information. Now, press Ctrl+A to accept the transaction. As you can see, the transaction has disappeared from the potential matches, excluding section, and has started appearing under the reconciled section. Case 2. Potential matches, excluding party GSTIN or UIN. Under Potential Matches, excluding party GSTIN or UIN, there are transactions in which the party GSTIN is different, while all other values are matching. Party GSTIN might differ in cases when a party has multiple GSTIN, and you might have chosen to bill on the branch company instead of the head office, or vice versa while recording purchase voucher. Or there can be a data entry error in the party GSTIN or UIN, says 0 was typed in place of O. In such cases, alter the party master to correct the party GSTIN or UIN. Enter the correct GSTIN or UIN and then press Ctrl+A to save the GSTIN or UIN entered in the ledger. Now, just drill down to the transaction. As you can see in the Party Details screen, update the GSTIN or UIN of the party. Press Ctrl+A to accept the transaction. Back to the report, you can see that the transaction has moved from the Potential Matches, excluding party GSTIN or UIN, to Reconciled section. Another case is where the GSTIN mismatch occurs, when the party has multiple branches, and the wrong branch was selected in the purchase invoice. You can drill down to the transaction and change the address of the branch to update the right GSTIN in the transaction. The invoice is reconciled. Case 3. Potential Matches, excluding doc number. Under Potential Matches, excluding doc number, you find the transactions in which all the values are matching, but doc number is different. This may occur due to some data entry error while entering the supplier's invoice number. Just drill down, correct the supplier invoice number and press Ctrl+A to accept the transaction. In a different scenario, the supplier may have entered a 16-digit supplier invoice number as per their business practices, while you have entered only the last 4 digits as per the pattern you follow. In such a case, you may not want to update the supplier invoice number in the voucher. Just press spacebar to select the transaction, press Alt+S to set GST status, select Reconcile, and press Enter. Or drill down to the transaction, press Ctrl+I, type and select GST status, and press Enter. Here, you can update the GST status as reconciled. Press Ctrl+A to save and then reaccept the voucher. As you can see, the transaction is marked as reconciled. Now, you can drill down to the Available Only on Portal section and press Alt+D to delete the supplier's transaction, as you have taken a conscious decision to reconcile your transaction despite the mismatch. As demonstrated, the facility of potential matches for reconciliation helps you identify transactions in which all the values are matching, but there is mismatch due to section, party GS10 or UIN or doc number. You can easily take actions to reconcile those transactions. Now, it can happen that you identified some errors in transactions or you might have imported wrong transactions. In such a case, you can reset GSTN data. As you saw, it is very easy to reconcile your purchase vouchers using GSTR2A reconciliation in Tally Prime. All you need to do is import the JSON file with suppliers' invoices, identify exceptions, if any, and take actions to resolve exceptions and reconcile the unreconciled transactions.
Subscribe and press bell icon if you like our video, and don't forget to share.